Have you ever noticed that the more you tell people about your work, your efforts, or your plans, the less impact they seem to have? The world is full of opinions, distractions, and judgments. And sometimes, sharing your journey too early can dilute your power, your focus, and even your success. Today, we will uncover why holding your cards close to your chest could be one of the most powerful decisions you make in life. Life has a funny way of testing our patience and focus. Every day, we meet people who want to know everything about us. Our jobs, our achievements, our plans. We think that sharing makes us appear transparent, trustworthy, or even relatable. But the truth is, every time you tell someone what you are doing, you are giving away energy, attention, and control. There is a subtle, silent power in keeping your journey private. And understand, this could completely change how you live, work, and grow. When you constantly tell people what you do, you are unknowingly leaking your energy. Every conversation about your work, your dreams, or your ambitions draws on your mental and emotional resources. Imagine energy as a currency. The more you spend on sharing, the less you have left to invest in actually achieving your goals. Some people respond with encouragement, yes. But many respond with criticism, doubt, or even envy. And if you let these reactions affect you, you are spending your valuable energy on things outside your control. Think about it. When a child learns to ride a bicycle, they don't run to the world to announce their attempts. They practice, fall, get up, and only when they master it do they proudly show off. Your journey in life is no different. Every time you prematurely broadcast what you're doing, you invite unnecessary pressure. You set expectations for people who have no real stake in your success. Their opinions start to matter, consciously or subconsciously, and this distracts you from your work. By not telling people, you create a protective bubble around your focus. It's not about secrecy, it's about clarity. You are safeguarding your mental space. You avoid unnecessary comparisons and judgments. You allow yourself the freedom to make mistakes, learn, and grow without external pressure. The less you share, the more energy you retain for creativity, for hard work, and for the moments that truly define your success. The people who truly matter will notice your actions, not your words. Results speak louder than explanation. If you have ever been in a situation where someone underestimated your ability or misunderstood your intentions, you know how painful it can be. By keeping your work private, you control the narrative of your life. You decide when the world will see your results, and this timing matters because it shapes perception, respect, and trust. Another subtle benefit is that not sharing encourages self-discipline. When nobody is watching or commenting, you are motivated by purpose rather than approval. This creates internal strength, a rare kind of motivation that doesn't depend on likes, shares, or external validation. Your focus becomes internalized. Your efforts become intrinsic. And your satisfaction comes from doing the work itself rather than telling everyone about it. Lastly, holding your work close to yourself builds patience and humility. It teaches you that the journey is more important than applause. The real rewards come to those who dedicate themselves quietly, who sweat, fail, and persevere in silence. People who rush to announce their every effort often miss the depth of learning and the joy of mastery. When you protect your energy by not telling people what you do, you are actually protecting your soul, your growth, and your ability to achieve something meaningful without distraction. When you tell people what you are doing, you are inviting opinions, advice, and judgments, whether you ask for them or not. And not all opinions are helpful. Some people give advice out of genuine concern, but many others comment out of habit, envy, or a need to feel superior. The challenge is that even well-intentioned opinions can create doubt and distraction. You start questioning yourself. Am I doing the right thing? Should I change my approach? Every time you share, the mental clutter grows and clarity begins to fade. Think about it. Every successful person you admire rarely talks about their plans before executing them. Why? Because they understand that opinions are like gusts of wind. Some may push you forward, but many will push you, of course. You cannot control who responds positively and who responds negatively. By keeping your work private, you filter out unnecessary noise and focus solely on your own voice. Your mind remains uncluttered, and your decisions come from reason and insight rather than external pressure. The truth is, the world is full of critics. They rarely add value, yet their comments can plant seeds of doubt. When you avoid sharing prematurely, you prevent these seeds from taking root in your mind. You maintain control over your emotional and mental space. You become the master of your journey rather than a participant in a crowd of unsolicited advice givers. Moreover, avoiding unnecessary opinions encourages self-confidence. You begin to trust your instincts and judgment. You rely on your observations, your learning, and your experience rather than constantly seeking validation. When you work in silence, you test your ideas, learn from mistakes privately, and refine your strategies without external interference. By the time the world sees your results, they are polished, well thought out, and impactful. Keeping your efforts to yourself also teaches you the art of discernment. You learn to recognize whose opinions matter and whose don't. This skill is priceless because it applies not just to work, but to relationships, decision-making, and personal growth. You no longer get swayed by the loudest voice or the most confident person. Instead, you act deliberately based on insight, evidence, and purpose. And finally, avoiding unnecessary opinions allows you to take risks without fear of embarrassment. Many people hold back from pursuing their dreams because they imagine what others might say. When nobody knows your plan, there is no pressure to conform or to defend your choices. You are free to explore, innovate, and grow without a safety net of external approval. And this freedom is the essence of true success. It is the quiet power that comes from knowing. You are building something meaningful, regardless of who notices along the way. When you keep your actions private and let your results speak for themselves, you naturally build respect and credibility. People respect those who do rather than just talk. Words are easy, but consistent action is rare. In a world full of noise, those who quietly deliver results stand out, not because they announce their efforts, but because their work demonstrates integrity, discipline, and competence. Think about it. How often have you heard someone boast about what they are doing, only to see them fail or stumble? The moment you rely on words rather than action, credibility becomes fragile. Conversely, when you focus on work in silence and show outcomes later, people cannot dispute your achievements. The results are tangible, undeniable, and lasting. Respect is earned silently, not demanded loudly. Keeping your journey private also fosters trust in relationships. When people see you consistently deliver, they begin to believe in your capability. They don't need explanations or excuses. They see results and understand your worth. Words can impress temporarily, but consistent action leaves a permanent impression. This is the essence of credibility. When your actions match your intentions and your values, people naturally follow, admire, and respect you. Another subtle aspect is that silence adds an air of mystery and intrigue. When you don't reveal every step of your journey, people notice more keenly when your accomplishments emerge. You create curiosity, attention, and a quiet anticipation. This is why some of the most impactful leaders and thinkers in history have been selective in what they share. They understood that respect is built by demonstrating capability over time, not by broadcasting intentions prematurely. Moreover, keeping your work private allows you to navigate criticism and competition more strategically. The world often measures you by comparisons, opinions, or hearsay. By focusing on results instead of explanations, you control the narrative. You prevent premature judgments that could undermine your authority or dilute your influence. People notice outcomes. They remember impact, not empty promises or plans. This approach also nurtures humility. When you work quietly, you don't seek validation from the crowd. You measure success by your standards, not by applause. Humility, combined with consistent action, strengthens credibility exponentially. People are naturally drawn to those who demonstrate quiet confidence, discipline, and results. Over time, this pattern builds a legacy of respect that is hard to erode. Finally, by prioritizing action over announcement, you become a role model for others. Your credibility inspires imitation. When people see someone achieving without constant explanation or validation, they understand the power of focus, patience, and persistence. Your silence becomes a statement of authority. You teach others that meaningful work is built through effort, discipline, and results not by talking about it. When you constantly talk about what you are doing, you invite distraction, expectations, and pressures that can quietly erode your peace. Every time you share a plan or goal with someone, a subtle weight attaches to it: the expectation of results, the judgment of others, and the possibility of unsolicited advice. Even the most well-meaning people can unintentionally create tension or self-doubt. By keeping your actions private, you protect your mental space and maintain clarity in your work. Consider this: the mind is like a river. When it flows uninterrupted, it can carve valleys, generate energy, and create life. But if you constantly throw pebbles, opinions, questions, judgments into it, the flow becomes turbulent. Talking too much about your work is like tossing pebbles into your own river of focus. If the current weakens, progress slows, and anxiety rises. Silence, in contrast, allows your thoughts to flow steadily, uninterrupted, and purposefully. Privacy also fosters deeper concentration. When nobody's watching, you are free to experiment, to fail, and to adjust your approach without fear of criticism or ridicule. This kind of freedom is rare in today's world, where social media, peer pressure, and constant comparison dominate our lives. Preserving your peace doesn't mean isolating yourself from the world. It means shielding your creative and emotional energy from unnecessary interference. Another dimension is emotional resilience. Sharing too much invites emotional reactions from others that can destabilize you. A negative comment or doubt expressed by someone you respect can linger in your mind, subtly undermining confidence. By keeping your work private, you minimize exposure to these emotional disruptions. You build an inner fortress of calm where focus, discipline, and creativity thrive. Silence also teaches patience. When the world doesn't see your efforts immediately, you learn to trust the process rather than demand instant recognition. You find satisfaction in your own progress, in the incremental steps, rather than in applause or validation. This internal satisfaction preserves your mental health and keeps your motivation intrinsic. You work for results, not for acknowledgement, and that shift is profound. It turns every challenge into an opportunity rather than a source of stress. Furthermore, focusing on your work privately allows you to make better decisions. Distractions and external pressures can cloud judgment and lead to impulsive action. When you operate quietly, you have space to analyze, reflect, and act with intention. Every choice becomes deliberate, informed, and aligned with your true goal, rather than influenced by the expectations or opinions of others. Finally, preserving your peace and focus cultivates a long-term vision. Most people chase short-term recognition and praise, but meaningful success comes from consistent effort in silence. Those who master the art of working quietly develop resilience, clarity, and strategic thinking. They can withstand criticism, competition, and setbacks without losing composure. Their silence becomes their strength. Their focus becomes their superpower. And the results speak louder than any words ever could. Life has a way of testing not just our skills, but our patience, focus, and wisdom. When you learn the art of keeping your journey private, you protect your energy, your mind, and your heart. You avoid unnecessary opinions that distract, doubts that weigh, and pressures that drain. You build respect silently, proving your worth through actions rather than words. And most importantly, you preserve your peace and focus, allowing your efforts to flow steadily toward meaningful results. Remember, the world doesn't need to know your every step. Results, not explanations, create impact. Actions, not announcements, build credibility. Silence is not emptiness, it is power. It is a quiet strength, that allows you to grow, to learn, and to achieve without distraction. When you embrace this principle, you discover that true success is never loud, yet it is undeniable. In the end, those who talk less and do more are the ones who leave a mark that lasts. Protect your journey, respect your energy, and let your work speak. Because when you act quietly, your life speaks volumes.